Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another fantastic special edition episode of Hands on SAP Dev, our live stream show run by the developer advocates. It's a special edition because of multiple reasons. The first reason is this is a second live stream today. Why we're doing two live streams? Because it is all about SAP Build Code. And why is it also special, as well as being about Build Code? It's because we've got the one and only, I'm going to point up and left and right because I'm not sure how he's going to appear on the thing. We've got the one and only Tom Young. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great to be on the Friday live stream show.
Friday live stream. So yes. So we do live streaming in sort of more a European centric time. We do it most Fridays. It's sometimes me, sometimes other folks. And one of the things we've been doing recently is all about CAP Node.js. I've got a URL. I'm going to put in the chat in there so I don't lose it. I'll tell you about that in a second. But what are we here for? We're here for the Americas. We're here. It's actually 9 a.m. West Coast time. You call it Pacific Coast or West Coast? West Coast time.
West
It's what
Coast
it is. It's noon East
noon.
Coast. It's 5 p.m. here in the UK, 6 p.m. in Western Europe. So welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining. We're doing this because we want to look into with you SAP Build Code, and more specifically within SAP Build Code, the features, the generative AI features that are in there in the form of Joule, which you may or may not have heard of. So welcome to Ulrich. Ulrich, a regular from the live stream in the morning, Friday mornings, my time. Welcome. Good evening to you in Frankfurt. Hello, Douglas Cesar, a long-time friend of the Hands on SAP Dev Show and developer advocates in general. Welcome, Douglas. And Bharati, hello to you as well, and welcome. So this is how we're going to run this session. I'm going to stop talking in a minute. I'm going to start. In fact, I'm going to share my screen now. Where's the button? Share screen, so you can see what we're talking about here. Desktop one, share. There we go. Fantastic. So what we're talking about is the fact that just a few weeks ago, SAP Build Code went GA. It went generally available. And to sort of celebrate that and to give everybody a chance to sort of kick the tires, there's been a test drive period, which has been marked by and sort of facilitated by a tutorial. Well, actually, it's a mission. And we're going to run through a little bit of the main part of that mission today to give you a chance, if you haven't had a chance already, to try it yourself, to have a feel, get a feel for what the generative AI facilities are like in the form of Joule in SAP Build Code, and try some other stuff out as well. So that's what we want to do. We've got an hour because these live stream episodes are usually an hour. Jennifer, welcome to you in India. It must be very late in India. Welcome, 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 welcome. So as you can see, we've got here the SAP Build Code test drive. In fact, let me share as well the blog post. The blog post has got lots of links. So I'll share the blog post so you can find from the blog post links to the Build Code test drive mission with the two tutorials and other things as well. And in the test drive, we have a very simple tutorial which basically gets you to run a booster on the SAP Business Technology Platform to set things up. I'll describe what things mean in a second. And then we have the main tutorial in this mission, which is create a full stack SAP for your application with Joule in SAP Build Code. And you have to say it like that, otherwise it doesn't work. So what are we talking about here? And what does the setup booster tutorial do? Well, basically, everybody has access to a trial account. Everybody can get a trial account on SAP Business Technology Platform. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to use a credit card or anything. And also within the context of a trial account, you can get a free plan when you subscribe, or you can get a free plan with which to subscribe to the SAP Build Code application. Okay, and as you can see here, I've got a subscription to SAP Business Application Studio, and I've got a subscription to SAP Build Code, and that's what I've selected here. And you can see the plan is the free plan. I'm using that. You can use that, and you get access to SAP Build Code through that. Bear in mind that the test drive is coming to an end today. So if you're quick, you can go through the test drive mission and still use the quota that the test drive team has provided for everybody to do that. to go through what we're about to go through. But while we're here, just maybe let's explain. I'm going to ask Tom to explain to the folks what the difference is between SAP Business Application Studio and Build Code, and what the relationship is between them.
Oh, okay. Actually, click on Business Application Studio for a second. And oh no, I meant
Oh, the
in
actual thing in there.
in the
Yeah,
list, yeah.
yeah.
Because I just want to point out that it is the Business Application Studio, but notice that the plan, I think, and I'm trying to get my windows here. Yeah. Oh, your plan says trial. I thought it would say build code. I'll have to look at what
Ah,
mine.
well, yes. I've not done
Yep.
that deliberately because in the news item that we recorded
Mm,
yesterday from Rupert's post, you can
that's right.
actually upgrade your Business Application
Upgrade.
Studio to Build Code just by changing the plan. So I'm on the trial plan, but there's a Build Code plan which I haven't yet clicked on.
Right. And see, I did it, I guess, the harder way. I deleted my Business Application Studio and redid it, and I see the build code plan under
Yeah,
the Business Application Studio.
yeah,
So I guess the point of what I wanted to get to is that Business Application Studio is part of build code. Build code
yes.
is a larger thing that gives you access to various BTP services from Cloud Foundry runtime, mobile services, audit logging. So it's everything you need to build and deploy a CAP application, including the IDE, which is Business
Hmm.
Application Studio. So we're not changing the IDE. Business Application Studio doesn't go away. It just becomes a part of build code. And what it is almost like a slightly different version of Business Application Studio. At its core, it's the same, but a
Hmm.
different set of extensions and a
Yeah,
different set of tools that are available there. One of the main ones being Joule, that gives you access to the AI assistant that we're going to see a lot today. That's
yes.
only available when you're running the Business Application Studio within the context of build code. So
Yeah,
if you use Business Application Studio standalone without build code, which you can still do, you don't get the AI assistant and some of the other newer tools. But when you use Business Application Studio as part of build code, you do get all this nice new stuff we're going to show you today.
perfect. Thank you, Tom. That's what I would say, but a lot better. So thank you. So if I were to click on SAP Build Code, which I've done here, I end up in the lobby, which I think for many people it might be a relatively new thing. So the lobby is just like a landing page, which is a little bit more friendly and also sort of consistent with other more low code, no code approaches to building stuff in the SAP universe. So this is the same thing that folks see if they're using SAP Build Apps, for example. And what I've done just 5 minutes ago or whenever it was, half an hour ago, create a new project. Okay, and that's basically the first thing that we're told to do in this tutorial. So I've done that already because it's quite simple and straightforward. It just involves going through a series of sort of selections. I'd like to build an application. I'd like to build an application using SAP Build Code, as in because I'm a pro developer rather than a low code no code developer. Otherwise, I'd be using SAP Build Apps. In that context of building with SAP Build Code, I've opted to build not just a front end, but a full stack application, which basically means front end and back end as well. And of course, we're talking today about CAP, the Cloud Application Programming Model, the Node.js flavor. Although the facilities we're going to be playing with today and kicking the tires off today are also available for the Java flavor. So that's what is going to be providing the back end part of this full stack application. So I've done that already. So let me jump in to this project. While I jump into the project, if you are wanting to have a little bit of a sort of an intro to CAP, a gentle intro, fun, friendly, etc. The link I shared above, I'm going to share it again. That is that we've got a series on the Hands on SAP Dev Show, the live stream show we run every Friday, which is basically back to basics. So everybody's welcome. No question is unwelcome. And it's great. We have great conversations. We dig into lots of different things. So we're finding our way through together and understanding a little bit more about the basics of SAP Cloud Application Programming. So that's a little bit of an advertisement there. By the way, Tom won the previous live stream earlier today by wearing the SAP Build Code T-shirt. I've only just
Yep.
got to my sister's where this was posted to me from from the SAP Build Code team. So there we go.
Very nice.
Yeah, so there we go, SAP Build Code. So while this is loading, we've got a question from Douglas. So the test drive is really ending today. Yes, it is. Now, in the blog post here, there's a link also, where does it say? Support during the test drive period. Actually, it's support sort of beyond, and you can ask questions beyond the test drive period. So if you want to find out whether you can get some more quota or ask the team things, then follow the instructions in this particular section of the blog post, the link I've posted in the chat already, to find out, because the team are listening out on the SAP Build Code tagged content on SAP Community. So is this loading? Yeah, we go. There we go. There we go. And also, I did notice a question. Code Novators. Hi, everyone, all the way from South Africa. Welcome. It wasn't a question. It was a hello. So thank you for saying hello. By the way, the best part of the live stream is that it's live. And the best part of it being live is that you, the participants, not me and Tom, can add your thoughts, add your comments, add your questions in the chat. That's what it's all about. So that's it so far. Yeah, okay, so what have we got here? We've got SAP Business Application Studio with extra bits in the form of SAP Build Code, as Tom was explaining. And what we start with, and you don't have to do this, but you can, we're going to start with this so-called storyboard, where we can see that we've got sort of graphical overview of the project that we're building. Okay, so and of course, as you can see here, we have all these different perspectives. I think that's an Eclipse term, but I'm still going to use it, right? All these different perspectives. So if this is like having you a little bit confused, you can just switch over to the Explorer, and everything is back to normal, as it were, in my brain and my small brain. So we can see already that we've got the skeleton of a CAP application. We've got a DB folder with nothing really in it. We've got a serve folder with nothing in it at all. We've got an app folder with nothing in it at all. So basically, it starts out with a sort of a skeleton CAP project for Joule to help us build something within. So in here, in the next step, and if you've done this, kudos to you, because this is great. We're going to start out by looking at, well, what is the first thing that you do very often when you're building the back end part of a front end, of a full stack application? You start to think about the data entities, right? You start to think about, well, what are the actual building blocks, the products, the customers, the suppliers, the whatevers that I want to use, and what are the relationships? And normally you'd have to sort of describe these in a declarative fashion using the core definition language in building a CDS model. But here, because this is all about the generative AI capabilities in Joule, what we're going to do is open up here, this nice little diamond thing here, that's a technical term, by the way, open up the Joule guide to start sort of taking advantage of this generative AI. And right at the top, the first thing we can do, or the first thing that's sort of offered to us, which is logically the first thing I want to do anyway, is start to think about defining the model. Okay, so normally you go in, like I say, to these directories here and create a CDS file, start writing CDS, and then go into the serve directory, start sort of thinking about how to expose these entities and the relationship you built in a service. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. We're going to open Joule. I'm Joule, your specialized AI assistant, and I've just copied rather, the text prompt from this tutorial. So I'll paste it in and we can read it, okay? We can get an idea of the sorts of details that we can supply in a text prompt. So you can see here, design a customer loyalty program, and we're talking already in this prompt about the data entities, customers, products, purchases, and redemptions, okay? We're also supplying in the prompt some constraints. So each customer must have the following fields: name, email, 7-digit customer number, and so on. So we're not only describing the entities that we want, we're also describing what elements in those entities that we want as well. And also, to an extent, we can describe the type, integer, string, and so on. Okay, already it's thought about this, and I mentioned this on the earlier live stream this morning, my time. I love the sort of anthropomorphic nature of this. It's thinking, which is quite a nice thing. And you'll see also that just like me, Tom is sort of a little bit nervous about speaking to these AI overlords, and so we're very polite when we talk to them. So there we go. I'm going to bring this in. And what's going to happen now is it's going to load that into a file in the DB directory. And also, let's have a look while it's doing it. There we go. We've now got a schema file, and we've also now got a services file there. But in the storyboard as well, we can also see, let me zoom that in a bit. I've not got my mouse, so I can't really, ooh, there we go. We can sort of see where the benefit of this graphical approach to thinking about things. So we've got the basic view. We can also go to the detail view, which will give us a little bit more detail about, there we go, I can scroll it up. The data model, we've got a loyalty program namespace. So for those CAP developers out there, this is nothing that's unusual. This is nothing new. This is generating everything that you would normally want to generate. Namespace, we've got an entity definition here. We've got all the different elements in that entity. We've also got, for example, on the services column, we've got, for example, this entity is exposed in the service. Okay. So any comments from you, Tom?
Good.
It's looking good. It's looking good. And welcome to Jorge in Venezuela and Javier Gonzalez. Hello, DJ, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Javier is another regular on the Hands on SAP Dev show. So far so good. But I think again, it's worth just sort of, let me make that a little bit bigger. It's worth staring at that a little bit, because I think for me, as an old, grey-haired, slightly cynical, could I say cynical, developer, I'm really happy with the code. Here we're talking about declarative CDS that's generated. It's not just nonsense code that's not maintainable, not debuggable, not modifiable. This is beautiful stuff, and it has some best practices built in already. We've got the OData draft enabled annotations for each of the exposed entities. We've got a lot more human-friendly or OData human-friendly path that's been defined for us. So I think it's quite nice, don't you, Tom?
Yeah.
And we've also got here let's have a look in the schema CDS. We've got the entities defined. And the thing is, even if you want to modify this later on, you can modify this, as a human. You can go and edit the file, but you can also go back. We won't do that now because we haven't got time, but we can also go back. Notice that we have two ways of doing it. If we go back to the, where is it? There we go. I've made it bigger. So we go Joule, open guide, go to open Joule here. There we go. We could also say, regenerate, or we could actually then, modify the prompt and say, actually, just change it a little bit. I think, Tom, you might do that a little bit later on, right?
Yep, I'll do some of that.
So far, so good. We've got the data model and survey, also sample data. So what it says here as well, you'll see down here, this will guide you all the way through, enhance the sample data. What sample data are here? Well, let's go back to the storyboard. Everything revolves around the storyboard. It's quite cool. Let me make that a little bit smaller again. Storyboard. And up here, there's quite a few buttons here, which is like scaring the heck out of me because I'm a terminal person. Open editor, sample data. So what it's also done is generate sample data for the entities that it's created a definition for. And it's pretty cool sample data. Now, let me just collapse this sort of side panel for a second. How do I do that? I don't know. Oh, my goodness me. I don't know. Oh, maybe if I click that one. There we go. Perfect. I want to distinguish between the generative AI facilities that we're looking at here and everything we've seen so far, the entity definitions, the relationships, the elements within, the namespace, the service definition, the exposition of the entities in the service, and so on. That's all been generated by Joule, by the generative AI. Here, for example, is a feature that's part of SAP Build Code, but it's not from a generative AI perspective, a feature. It's just basically part of Build Code. I want to add 5 more records. Okay, now that's part of SAP Build Code, but we can also use the generative AI features of Joule. Basically, again, I made this joke. I thought it was quite good, so I'll make it again. Anywhere where you see something magical, like this one thing or a diamond over here, that's a bit of a clue as to, you're going to get some help from Joule. So I've just added 5 more. I mean, that's pretty good. I'm happy with these names 1756, name 5054, but we can go and hit enhance. We bring up Joule, and in this oh, not that one, in this tutorial, and I would definitely recommend you go through and read this tutorial and do the tutorial, we can say enhance my sample data with meaningful data, right? So let's copy that. Let's bring it across to here and do that. So we're saying here, any phone numbers must be 10 digits long, no fields may be empty, blah, blah, blah. Total purchase must be smaller than 10,000, but not rounded, and so on. So I'm going to hit the go button there and let Joule think. So, how are we all doing in the chat? I've got to say, I'm going to maybe make this a competition. You're all more quiet, a lot quieter. Maybe it's politeness. I don't know. Are you a lot more polite in the Americas than in EMEA, APJ? I don't know. So I want to see some more chat. Let me know what you think about this. Oh, Vitali, talking of chat and opinions, in comes Vitali. There is no magic in AI. It's just surprisingly well working math. Exactly.
Or at least most of the time, it's surprisingly well working math.
Yes, exactly. So we've got this still thinking here. So we had a great question, which I think we
Yeah,
could sort of
there you
regurgitate and talk about while we're doing this. So let's accept this data, which is, well, generally, how the heck does all this stuff work, right? What's going on in the background? And Tom, you were talking about basically this is wrapping and making use of SAP's AI core on BTP. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that while I just mess about here?
Yeah, I mean, the infrastructure is our own. We're using AI Core, AI Business Services, AI Launchpad, the large language model, the capabilities that are part of BTP. And on top of that, or that all runs on top of ChatGPT.
Hmm.
It's actually the variant offered by Microsoft as part of Azure. And their open AI offering. So it's enterprise segmented, kept safe and separate from
Yep.
the overall public model. And then the AI capabilities in BTP allow us to add our own training data to the model without having to add it to the public model. So we can train it on things like ERP semantics and our specific business application logic and things like CAP that aren't in the public model. And you, as a customer partner, are going to have the ability in the future to add your own training data to it as well. So you could add, customer specific or industry specific logic. So, for instance, when you're generating your data for a new
Hmm.
application, it could know and add data specific to your company.
Yeah, exactly. So what I thought I'd do, in fact, we've had a great question from Ulrich. If and I think many people may be able to guess the answer to this. If Joule is AI based, is it possible that the response, i.e., ready-made code, will be different if the same text from the mission is entered at different times or by different users? And the answer to that is yes.
Which makes it fun to try to build learning materials on top of AI when you don't know if the same response is going to come back every time. And let me tell you, we've been working on some of that. It poses an interesting challenge.
Exactly. Now I'm going to stop talking because I know I've talked far too much for my portion. But I just wanted to show it. I thought, well, we've not got very far at all in terms of what we want to do from a full stack perspective. But already, what Joule has generated is Lauffertig. I don't even know what the English is for that. We can run it, right? It's ready to run. Um, just like any sort of cap app, cap, the beauty, one of the many beauties of cap, and shoot me down for saying all this all the time, but one of the many beauties of cap is it's grow as you go. So things start working when you've lifted your finger off the enter key for the very first time. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because Tom's got a lot more of an interesting data model than products and customers. Okay, so Tom, take it away.
All right, let me share my screen now. It
How do I
says
stop sharing? Hold on. Stop share. There we go.
it says I can't share. The host is disabled participant screen sharing. Can you
Ah,
give me
share.
access?
Oh, all participants.
Yeah.
Uh, all participants. I'll just press all the buttons all the
Yep.
time. Go, go,
Yep.
go.
Just press all the buttons. That works. There we go. So now we're over here in my screen. I'm going to make this little, it's right in the way of all the sharing stuff here, but I'll get it here in a second. There we are. Just get that. Right. So first of all, I'm going to start off in a little different spot than DJ did, and just show you some alternative ways to interact with build code. Ironically, DJ started from the GUI in the BTP cockpit and launched in. I'm going to start from the command line. Talk about role reversal here. But
My work here is done.
Yeah, I'm actually going to first see where I'm targeting. So I'll just do upon a CLI BTP info, and it shows me that yes, I'm targeting the sub account that is mine. If I hadn't been, then I could have just targeted a different sub account here by saying BTP, and it'll pull back all the sub accounts in my global account. And you see our team, we've got separate sub accounts for each person, but I could just come here and choose mine. There it is. Say yes. And now I'm targeting that sub account. That's all good. So now to launch, I can use the BAS command. This is Application Studio. And we've updated the tooling so that when you do run the BAS command, if you're targeting a BTP account that has build code installed, instead of launching BAS directly, it launches you into the SAP Build lobby, where you have
Nice.
access to build code projects and build app projects and build process automation and all this good stuff. I'll also show you here, just because I need to check to make sure my dev space is still running. You can jump over to the dev space manager from here as well. And yes, good, it is still running. You never know with live demos. You start this stuff before you begin, and sometimes it, times out and shuts down and stuff like that. But I'm going to create a new project. And I can just collapse that now. So let's say create a new project, and you see here, whatever I'm subscribed to. This account, I'm actually not subscribed to process
Hmm.
automation, but I could. But I do have work zone, that functionality. But I want to build an application, and then you see here I've got SAP Build Apps or SAP Build Code. I'm a professional developer. I'm going to use SAP Build Code for this. And do I want to create a Fiori application or a full stack? I'm going to create a full stack application.
Yeah.
So I'll just call this demo 3. I'm going to target my existing dev space that's already running, and I'm going to go ahead and say create. Pardon me. I do have a little bit of a cold, so I apologize if I cough in anyone's ear. I'll try not to. Um, but this is going to take a second to create the project. While that's going, of course, I could click on the project and it would open Business Application Studio in web browser, just as DJ did when he went in. But I'm
Hmm.
actually going to show you another alternative and cool feature, which is, what if I want to use VS Code on my local machine to do development? All we have here is I've just launched VS Code, and we have an extension for VS Code for the Business Application Studio. And if I click on that, I'm seeing the dev spaces. And actually, it still says starting. There it is. Sorry, fully started now. I see my dev spaces, and I have the ability to just, I can stop or start dev spaces from here, but I can also launch them in a new window. And when I do this, it's launching a new VS Code window here. And while it does that, let me just, yeah, my project is done being created, so I'm ready to connect to it. What I have here is VS Code, and I'm going to make that a little larger so you can see it better, but running locally. So VS Code on my local machine, but I'm connected remotely to my Business Application Studio or Build Code environment.
Hmm.
So the terminal that you see here, this is not my local file system or a terminal running locally. This is on the remote machine. And it's installing all the extensions that are part of Business Application Studio, including, as we'll see here in a minute, even the Joule capabilities. They're just a little off the screen there because I increased the font size.
Hmm.
But
We've
at this
already got
point,
somebody celebrating the fact that it's VS Code, Mauricio. Yeah, that's awesome.
good. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and open the project that I created from the lobby. So home user, user projects, projects. and then demo 3. Say OK.
So just to emphasize, where Tom has selected are directories, folders on the remote dev space in BTP.
Exactly. So nothing about the project has actually been copied down to my local machine. I'm still developing completely on Business Application Studio in the cloud, but I'm interacting, and the editors are local on my machine. And you'll see in a little bit when we actually run our application that even how that interacts, and I test it from my local browser, but it forwards the request to the Business Application Studio. So you see the same thing that DJ saw when he went into his project. The skeleton project over here, the storyboard, and of course it's an empty project at this point. We don't even have CDS files in it.
Mhm.
So I'm going to start the same way DJ did, and I'm going to come here to Joule, and I'm going to open the Joule guide, and I'm going to start creating an application. But I'm going to do a different application than DJ did with the tutorial. We're going to do something a little different here. I'm going to say, please create a superhero application. It should have a superhero entity. It should also have entities for superpowers and superhero, I'm sorry, and secret identities.
Mhm.
Now, each hero can have one or more superpowers, but they can only have a single secret identity. Identity. There we are. Let's go ahead and let that start thinking. Notice I started with please, as DJ said earlier. I try to be polite to our AI assistants. You never know when that might come in handy in the future. But
Exactly.
here we are.
That was
And
quick.
yeah, but actually, it's not correct. Uh,
Oh,
uh,
yeah. Interesting.
and maybe
Interesting.
it's because I worded it slightly differently. Because actually, it didn't create the secret identity correctly. It created an entity for it, but did not create an association to that entity. It put a field in there, and sometimes the AI is not right. Um, that's just one of the things we have to get used to with AI, hallucinations, incorrect information. So you always still have to have the knowledge of what it's doing and the understanding to be able to correct it if necessary. It is a great time-saving tool, but it doesn't replace our knowledge as developers.
Yeah.
So actually, I'll come back in here and see if I can correct this. But
While you correct that, one of the really good conversations we had on this morning's live stream was about the fact that actually what generative AI coding facilities bring us is not anything that will replace developers. Like Tom says, we still need the core knowledge. Think of it more like, when we started to move away from machine code, assembler, more high-level languages, compilers, transpilers, and so on. It's just the next level of abstraction, and to get us closer to being able to spend our time on the things that matter rather than things that don't matter.
now this is interesting because it did correct this time, but now it's put superpowers in there twice. So somehow it's gotten a little confused, and it's also now changed superpowers from a composition, which would have been correct, to an association. So I'm actually going to just tell it to regenerate and see
Mhm.
if starting from scratch instead of editing might be a better choice there. There we are. Now we're getting somewhere. So this is good. You see the process has to be a little bit iterative to get exactly what you want. But now it's correct. The secret identity is an association because this makes sense. Apologize there. Um, Even if a superhero stops being a superhero and their record gets deleted out of the superhero table, say Superman is exposed to kryptonite and isn't Superman anymore, he's still Clark Kent. So that should be an association because the child entity exists even if the parent gets deleted. On the other hand, if Superman
Mhm.
loses his superpowers and isn't Superman anymore, then the superpowers should be deleted as well if he's deleted out of the superhero database. Therefore, it's a composition. So you see it determining that from, I didn't even tell it that, right?
That's
It
pretty
it
awesome.
it understands that because it understands what superheroes and superpowers and secret identities are. So it's inferring that from the context of the data. And yes, we're using superheroes here, so we're tapping into the general knowledge of ChatGPT and the large language model, but it can make the same sort of inferences about your business logic and other semantics. Um, so you see the real power here is
Yeah,
what it's doing without me even having to tell it to do it. On the other hand, notice, unlike the earlier example, I didn't tell it exactly which attributes a superhero has. So it actually pulled some out on its own here. And actually, for this to
alignment.
work, I'm going to see if I can say, please add a age attribute to
Oh
the
yeah.
superhero entity, because that's one that it normally generates and we use it later in the demo. So let's see if that works.
Well, this is all. That was
Uh,
also a good
oh,
example of
no, that didn't work.
where you can go back and say,
Uh,
no, please adjust this and give it a little bit of a nudge in a different direction if you want to. And you can do that at any time as well. By the way,
that,
while Tom is
yeah.
typing stuff in there, this might be a good opportunity to mention that the live stream series that we run at the moment, the Back to Basics, right now we've been explaining what compositions are and talking about this contained in type of relationship, the parent-child relationship, and the cascaded delete attributes or features of that composition type relationship, as opposed to association. So if you want to learn more about that, check out the live stream series, watch episode 11 and maybe 10 as well to understand what associations are. And yeah, it should be fun.
And and now I'm retyping my prompt because it wiped out everything and only created a superhero entity instead of adding it. Okay, so I'm learning here. So now I get to put this back in the way I had it. Let's see. Each hero can have one or more superpowers. Oh, powers, but can only have one secret identity. All right, let's try this.
So,
Submit.
so while Joule is thinking, Javier has a really good question. Can we ask Joule to create the necessary unit testing code for an existing code base and use a specific test framework like Jest? Now, you can certainly get unit testing to work on existing code bases. Whether or not it will use the unit testing framework of your choice, I'm not sure. But you can certainly get it to build unit tests for existing code.
All right, so I'm going to, yeah, it's not behaving. I can't get it to generate exactly what I want after so many successful passes here. Yeah, now it's doing superpowers twice for some reason again. What did I do that is confusing? It should have also have secret identity and superpowers entities. Each hero can have one or more superpowers, but only have one secret identity. I don't
Maybe the
know
word
why it's
entities after
yeah,
superpowers entities. That's sort of
yeah,
mixing
let's
make believe and
I
technical.
I thought I did that before, but maybe oh
Oh,
no, that didn't work at all, did it?
by the way, while we're getting it to think, Mauricio has
Yeah.
another great question. So SAP Joule is not something that a key user or consultant without a basic cloud development experience could use without professional developers' help, correct? Yeah, I would say that this is more targeted towards professional developers because
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
you, what you don't want to do is get code created by a generative AI facility and then just use it as is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still need to understand what's generated and to be able to use that and modify it as you see fit.
That's exactly what I'm gonna do right now. because I can't seem to bend it to my will the way I normally do. So I'm going to go ahead and accept what it said, and then I'm just going to go in and change it. So I'm
I
going to
think
say
the problem
superpowers are,
was that
yeah,
you weren't polite enough.
perhaps, perhaps composition of many superpowers, and then we don't need the second superpowers. I don't really
Hmm.
know why it was inserting it a second time, but now it's all now it's all good.
Yep.
Um, except yep, uh there we are. Um, yeah, that's exactly what I want. So you can of course edit it after Joule is done with it and everything continues to work just fine.
And also
Uh
note that when Tom was editing that, then if he'd have made a mistake or made a syntax error, we've still got the standard CDS extension for VS Code and for BAS, so that you're not trying to modify this stuff with a blindfold on. You
yeah,
have all the standard facilities, so it's like the best of both worlds.
yeah. Really good point that this very demo shows that we're still in the driver's seat, that it
Yeah.
needs a human. It doesn't replace us, just speeds us up. It's like a compiler or an improved editor. It doesn't replace the human knowledge or human creativity. It just speeds it up most
Hmm.
of the time. So we've got our adjusted model. I like the way this looks now. Actually, my storyboard is not loading right, but that's okay. I'm going to come back here and we want to generate some sample data now. So let's go ahead and open Joule and it generates a prompt that says generate sample data. I'm going to change it to say, please generate sample data.
Please, please,
Yep.
please.
Oh, there we are. That's interesting.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, what is this? Failed to generate sample data with error. CDS compile. Composition and draft entity can't lead to another entity with draft enabled. Ah, interesting. So
So, and
let's.
it's looking at the service layer, isn't it?
Yep, yep. Uh, so it because that's a composition now. Let's take
What do you
draft
just
and
take them away? Yeah.
take that off. That should I think that should fix it. Just that one change. So let's try that again.
While we try that again, we got
Yeah.
two folks from the this morning's live stream on again, Ian and Sheku the Stud. So Ian is confirming that, yeah, he reinforces that developers are clearly still in the driving seat. Sheku asks, any plans that SAP has to integrate Joule with DevSpace is in BAS or only with Build Code? Only with Build Code. So this is Joule is a feature of Build Code, and BAS is effectively the IDE infrastructure underneath.
Yep.
Um, so
No.
Douglas says,
Yep.
oh, oh, there
Oh,
we
go ahead.
go. No.
Yeah.
Douglas says, is there any current or planned capabilities for interaction with ABAP Cloud stroke wrap artifacts? Well, I'll let Tom answer that.
Yeah. The ABAP team are developing their own version of this that will be built into the ABAP development tools in Eclipse. It is planned for a first delivery at in Q2 of this year. We actually did a demo of it at TechEd during the developer keynote last year as well. So check that out if you want to see a little early version of that. But it works very similar to this, except it generates wrap artifacts instead
Mhm.
of cap. Yeah. All right. So I've got I corrected that in the service definition, again, showing how you still got to know what it's doing. And once I did, then it generated the data just fine. And actually, in this morning's demo, it generated all Marvel heroes. And I had to come back in and tell it, please generate some DC heroes. This time, I got a mixture. I've got Marvel and DC. But the really cool thing here is that it's really smart. In the data that it put in, it's all contextually aware. It's lined up. For instance, Clark Kent is the secret identity for Superman. Obviously, he's a mild mannered reporter for Daily Planet. He has the ability to fly, and he has super strength. So it knows all these things from the general model. And again, it can do the same thing with business semantics and business
Mhm.
data. It will not just generate random strings and match data types. It's really generating data that's intelligent for the scenario that you're having it build for. So
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and accept that data. and we can see it previewed here in the app. Oh, and the secret identity table. Yeah, well, let's go to the superhero table, and it goes to the secret identity table correctly, and also goes to the yeah. So superpowers is all working. So the data looks good here. I think we could go ahead and even try to run the
Mm.
application at this point. So let's no, I want to go to the run configurations
Yeah.
and go ahead and run it. It's going to start up. First time you run it, it's going to have to do an npm install, of course, to bring in all the necessary modules from npm, but it will launch here in just a second.
So we got some great questions and discussions actually from Sheku and Javier about the LLM
Yeah,
that is being used.
it is using Chat GPT
Hmm.
as the LLM right now. 3.5 Turbo actually. So here we are. It's launched our application. It's
And
ready
you're
to,
right now, you're still in VS Code on your local machine, right?
yes. Yeah, that's a good reminder. I'm in VS Code on my local machine. It's running in Build Code Business Application Studio in the cloud. And I'm going to say open in browser. It's going to launch a web browser on my local machine. It says the URL is localhost, but it's actually being redirected by VS Code to the
Dev
cloud.
space. Yeah.
So it's running in the dev space, but I'm accessing it from my local browser on my desktop. So that's a really cool feature.
Hmm.
And now I can click here to view my superhero entity, and it's going to load the Fiori preview, which maybe while that's loading, I'll just go over here and show you. It also generated annotations. So it's going to look like a nice Fiori preview. There we are. And it's showing us, Spider-Man, Secret Identity, Peter Parker,
Wow,
uh,
Wonder
Iron
Woman's
Man.
older than I thought.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's old. Let's see. There we are. Yeah, showing us some details there. So already have an application pretty well built. You see secret identities, value helps and stuff like that. Even have, well, let's go back in there. Wonder Woman, go into edit. We even have draft support built in. Uh, for instance, I'll make her 301. But then I won't save it. I'll just go off that field and it updated the draft. If I go to exit, it's asking me, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep the draft? Do you want to discard the draft? Do you want to save it? Keep the draft. So I'm seeing 301.
Nice.
So lots of
Everything is
built-in,
working.
yeah, lots of built-in functionality right out of the gate. Um, Actually, let's go.
I'm just thinking while you're doing that, we've
Yeah.
got 12 minutes left. I think it'd be really cool to see some JavaScript.
Yes, that's the next thing I want to do here. So let's quickly go over here to add some application logic. Let's say open application logic. It brings up the graphical CDS modeler so we can choose what entity we want to add logic to.
And we can
I'm
get
gonna,
to hear from the storyboard as well.
yeah, I'm gonna say add logic, and I'm gonna add it to the service entity. And I'm gonna say add that, and let's do an after read. Um, And
Hmm.
this is where we want to add application logic. Now, one cool thing, I really like the structure that this does,
Yeah,
because instead of just dropping the logic into the service.js, where it's going to bootstrap, it did create a service.js, and that's where it put the after event, the read, but the actual logic is in a separate file. We see
it's
this await.
beautifully modular.
Yeah, I know. I put it over here in this subfolder for code. So I can work in just this one file and add my
Mhm.
code in here. And I don't see all the plumbing that leads us to it. And I think that's a really nice way
Yeah.
to set up and do it. Um, but let me come back here. Oh, where was I? Where's my Joule window go? Um, yeah.
What are you looking for?
I'm trying to get back. There we are.
Oh,
This is
oh,
my
there's
Joule
prompt.
window. Yeah, if I want Joule to write my logic for me, it will write JavaScript for me as well. So let's just make that a little bigger. I wanted to come here and I wanted to if the entity has an age greater than 150, then append the, and I have to check here. I think it is description, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Description, append, oh, sorry, append and immortal to the description. All right, let's go ahead and have it write that JavaScript for us. Thinking hard. You have any questions?
So Sheku is asking about different large language models, GPT-4 Higher Turbo, and so on. So in fact, the best thing to do, given that the time is running out, I've suggested that Sheku, if that's all right with you, you ask on the SAP community with the Joule and SAP Build Code tag. The information about how to do that is in that blog post. In fact, I'll post a link to the blog post again, because the team there are eager to hear from you what you think, right? So put more questions in there, comments. I mean, we've had some great feedback. In fact, the developer news this morning, we talked about some feedback that the Build Code team have had, which has been great.
So in the meantime, it has finished writing the code, and it gives you a nice explanation of what the code is doing. And if you were on this morning's demo, you would have known that the first time that I ran this morning, it actually wasn't totally correct. It
Yep.
didn't have the branching logic to check if we're patching in an array of records or if we're getting them one at a time. And I had to go back and actually tell it that. I had to add on to the prompt to say and have logic to handle either scenario. This time it generated it correctly. Maybe it learned from this morning's demo and now it's maybe it's putting that in there. Who knows? Automatically. So actually this is ready to go. And as soon as I put the code in there, we got the CDS watch running here. It restarted the application. So let's just go and relaunch our web browser. Wherever my web browser went, where did it go? On my other monitor. There we are. And now when we go into the application preview, if we go to superheroes, what we should get is Diana Prince is over age 300. Oh, we don't have a description.
Oh,
I don't
what?
have a description this
Not
time.
in
Did
the.
I?
Oh, shall we check in the JSON
Ah,
only
yeah.
to
Is it
save
just
time?
not in the annotations? Perhaps
Yeah,
it's not in
maybe.
the annotations. Because did I add that? I can't remember. Let's take a look at that. No, I don't have a description. I
Oh, so
simply
what's going on
I I
in the
simply
beginning of the
don't have
code?
I don't have a
Result.description.
description.
Ah, it's adding another. Interesting.
Yeah, what is it doing? Yeah, it is just adding it to the output, but it's not in the definition. Well, let's
Yeah,
I think I can fix that pretty
sure.
quick.
And while Tom
Uh
was thinking about fixing that, note if you just had a stare at the JavaScript for a second, notice that it's not all super roses all the time. So I did notice there's a lack of dryness to that code because we've
yeah,
got that the condition about the age being over 150 in both of the if and the else clauses. So that could be improved. You could ask Joule to improve that, or you could improve that yourself.
yeah. What did I do here? And now it broke things.
There is a description entity.
Yeah.
What does the
Uh
metadata look like?
I don't know what it's doing. Let's where am I at? Where am I at? Run configuration.
That's right. Is it still running or is it stopped?
Yeah. Where's yeah, and unfortunately I lost my where's my little stop? There is my stop button.
Stop.
Or I could
Oh, it's
restart.
under your share screen thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it was underneath the Zoom shared thing. So let's restart this. Is it restarting? All right, let's just
let's go again.
right. Yeah. All right, now it's not behaving. There we are.
There we are.
Now it's running. Now it's probably going to run twice. I hit the button too many times.
Patience is a virtue.
I know.
Politeness is even more so.
All right. Yeah, it is restarting a second time. But that's okay.
That's okay.
Open it in the browser. Maybe.
Just behind the browser, the messages there, the log messages, it does say server listening on localhost 4004. Yes, it
Huh?
does. Localhost
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Cool.
but I don't know if me starting it twice has got it all
It is.
buffled or not. Yeah, it seems to
Let's stop it and start it from
yeah,
scratch.
seems to be now the sharing thing is in the way. Yeah, it says it's already in
Yeah,
use.
yeah. Okay. That
All
sort of
right,
makes sense.
let's go let's make sure everything's cleaned up here. There we are. Now let's try starting it again. One more time.
Should be fairly quick this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 5 more minutes. So that's pretty cool.
Now
Oh, Javier has a
it's
question. Go ahead, Tom.
hopefully it works this time. Although it says 3421. Let's try it. There we are. So it
There we
changed
are.
ports. Now it's so it sensed that it wasn't liking that port that was still in use, so it changed to another one, 34121. And let's try this now. And now we have no description because we have no data or no wonder. Oh, there we are.
Yes, an immortal
Actually,
null.
yeah, it actually added null onto the end because it appended it to null, so turn
Ah,
null into a string. So it kept it from dumping at least when it combined it. But you get the point. It added the logic. If we had had data in there and things like that, maybe we need to go back and add a check for null so that it doesn't add on to null. But yeah, you get the idea of generating some code. It helps to make sure you actually have the column that you're coding against in your model before you add the code, but it does eventually work there.
yeah, nice one, nice one. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, my best takeaway from this is the phrase "an immortal null." I'm going to use that phrase in the next live stream.
All
So
right.
we're about out of time, but Javier has a question here. I've not read it yet, but let's just read it now. Why does the booster, why the booster is expecting to provision SAP Build Code in requesting sub account without Cloud Foundry enabled?
Because
I got that issue on a CPA sub account. I don't know why yet.
the booster wants to enable Cloud Foundry.
Yeah, yeah,
And it uses a separate Cloud Foundry plan that is specific to build code. So it wants you to disable Cloud Foundry so basically you can reset it up.
yeah. To be fair to the team, they built the booster for, well, primarily for the test drive, primarily for folks who would be having, going through this for the first time. So that's where that came from.
Yeah. I actually hit that same problem. I already had Cloud Foundry in my sub account, and I didn't want to delete my Cloud Foundry because I already had apps and services deployed in it. So I
Mhm.
simply didn't use the booster. I looked at the first screen of what the booster was going to do, and then I went and did it all myself manually.
Yeah,
It took a few extra minutes, but I learned a lot about what the booster was doing by doing it myself.
yeah, yeah. So I think in summary, for me as a developer, just like you folks out there as well, the way I see this is that it's not magic. Well, it is magic, but it's not magic. It's another tool that I can use to be more efficient is the wrong word, to be more
Yeah.
productive.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay. Well, any last thoughts from you, Tom, before we close this out because we're at the top of the hour?
There's one important question from this morning that I thought I would reiterate here is we got the question, who owns the code, the IP that's
Yes,
generated?
that was a great question.
And the answer to that is you do if you're the person running it. It's no different than using a compiler to generate code. The person writing the prompt is from an intellectual property standpoint, is the creator of the
Mhm.
output. So no different than using any other editor or compiler. This is a tool that yes generates code, but so do the other tools. And you, as the originator of writing the prompt, is still the owner of the IP that results.
Perfect. All right. Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Thanks so much for joining. And it was great to see all the questions and comments and everything. Fantastic. I'm sure you can rewatch this morning's as well. Join the live streams every Friday if you can. And until next time, it's goodbye from me.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye.